Thank you for joining us back on the LaCroix channel. Today we're going to talk about a couple things. First off, how I'm trying to structure my personal life and to really grow, into try to expand during this time. This is the time you should be expanding. So I know it's different. It's going to be different, right? It's going to be pain, and there's a lot of pain and anguish right now. Definitely when people are losing their jobs. Could be up to 15% unemployment rate. So this is the time you really need to start expanding and increase, and to look at your business and your strategies and what you are doing just in general to really increase and really to growing, right? So again, my name is Ty. I run a $3 million ARR business named LaCroix. What we do is actually day trade hard good products between eBay, Amazon, Mercari, Amazon, OfferUp, Amazon at scale, and we try to do that as much as possible, even right now, right? So e-commerce is still pretty strong just in general, which is really good news for everybody that is in e-commerce. Retail is starting to get crushed because people can't go out, right? So this is the time, if you are in retail, you need to be looking at a second flow of income into e-commerce. You have the structure, you have the inventory, you have all these things that are very important right now, but this is the time really where you need to be focused on going to e-commerce. I personally like retail, but I like the mixture of having e-commerce as the main driving factor, and then the retail on the front end actually producing more revenue because you get that traffic in and people actually know your brand better on in retail than they are on e-commerce, right? So e-commerce, no one really knows our actually e-commerce brand, right? Because we day trade, people know LaCroix. If you use LaCroix just in general, or if you use Hammock or other software and our other play, you know these things. But if you do not, it's a lot harder to become a branded e-com because Amazon owns the world right now. Actually check out, there's actually PBS did a great Amazon interview, not really interview, but documentary series, about 2 hours long, but it's interesting. It basically states that Amazon is really the leading and monopolize on all this stuff, even though we use Amazon, but they are the Carnegie, the railroads of the past industrialized world. Now Bezos and Amazon are the railroads for e-commerce. You pretty much have to be on Amazon to actually make any serious money. That's the thing we found out. We try to do all these other platforms, eBay, Mercari, OfferUp, all these different things, but Amazon to this day is the easiest how to scale. Again, we scale from $0 to $230,000 a month in 8 months with really no cash, just using my credit cards, to what we are now, which is kind of cool to say. But at the same time, again, let's drop back to what we're talking about as e-commerce and finance. So I'm going to break this down. Let me go my personal life in general, then I'm going to go to business strategies, and then I'm going to go to what you should be doing with your finances at the end, or I might switch this up. Who really knows? I go on tangents pretty soon and pretty often, right? So let me go my personal life. I am trying to be more structured as possible, right? So that is the key for this right now, is to don't let the new environment actually hurt you. Let it work for you. Let it be better. I know personally, right? I really enjoy like talking to my team and like working with them in general, and that can be a devastation on the other play, right? If I am Luca's our logistics guy, right? So if I am working with Lou in logistics, like unpacking boxes and stuff, I'm actually not working on the most important stuff for the business, right? And that can be different things, right? So you want to have your team do the things that are very important, but that they are handling, right? You don't want to be jumping into it, right? Even Friday, I really didn't get much done on a Friday because I went into the office and I started helping out, even though like Lou doesn't need help, right? He has it down. He has it down pat. He doesn't need help, but I just feel like I need to help, right? That's not good, right? So that's why I like working at home, because I can get a lot of things done, right? At that point, at the same thing, the home can be a devastation as well, right? You can get tied up into these liabilities as in like TV. TV is a liability. YouTube for me is a liability. Obviously, if we're not putting content out, we want to be creating. You want to be putting output. Let me rephrase this. You want to be putting output during your day, not taking in input. That's probably the main thing of what helped us grow in general, is we became more of an outputter than an inputter, right? That's just business 101, or just like being an entrepreneur, but I think that can be stretched for anybody, right? You want to be putting out stuff. If you want to do a business, if you want to be on YouTube, if you want to be on Instagram, if you want to do any of this stuff, it's all pretty correlated between. You just need to put a lot of output on one separate thing. Also, you need to start condensing down what you should be doing doing and what you are doing, right? I know personally I am an entrepreneur, so I love doing thousands of different things. That becomes very, very devastational, right? The more you put out in terms of the more things you're doing, the more time sucks that becomes. It becomes very, very hard, right? So like me personally, I that becomes a devastation in general, right? So let's say yesterday, I'll go through yesterday. Yesterday I didn't do much. Like on Friday I helped out pack boxes and like get our supply out, get our main cash flow out. If you look at our business model in general right now, our main business that produces about 3 million a year, it is a cash flow machine, right? So there's two different types of things. That cash flow machine is making sure that we are sustained, right? So that goes back into personal life. I'm gonna stick to this as much as possible. So like that's the reason why I jumped on that. In my personal life in general, right, I'm trying to get rid of a lot of distractions in general, right? That is hard, especially right now. I think of it as, I think everybody's going through the same thing in general, right? The more confined we are, and us as human beings, we are very, very, we want to be connected with other people. I think that's breeding actually a lot of depression on people's side, which I've been seeing a lot of, right? Even me, right? I have those down days. I'm like, this sucks, right? Blah 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 blah. But it could be a lot worse. That can be anybody. Even if you lost your job right now, even if you're like us, there's people below us and there's people above us. It doesn't matter how you look at it. You just gotta stay focused and stay positive as you can be during these times. Whatever is happening to you, you need to look at the situation, take a step back, look at the situation in your personal life, and try to fix it or increase it or do whatever you believe is correct, right? So now let's talk about finances. I love finances. It's my thing, and it's kind of like my thing I really actually enjoy. So I'm gonna dive deep in this, and I might get on a tangent pretty quickly. But you need to take your overall finances. Let's say you make, let's make an easy number. Let's say you make $100,000 a year, or even $50,000 a year, or whatever you make. Let's say 50 grand, right? So in that $50,000 a year, you have taxes that get hit. Taxes get hit on that, right? So your biggest expense as a business or you as a personal is going to be taxes, right? So you need to make sure you are doing the correct things with your taxes. Obviously, I'm not a tax expert. I'm not giving you any tax liabilities, but just on a baseline business standpoint, I'm going to give you what I think, right? One, you need to take in deductions on everything you can, right? If you're working out of your house, take deductions out of your house or out of your mortgage or out of your rent, right? So my rent's gonna be, I'm gonna have a tax deduction off my rent because I'm working in it. It is a literally office for me, even though I pay very little for this place, which I love it. I ended up paying $650 for a 2-bedroom apartment. How I did that, I'm gonna go into it real fast, is that it's fantastic, honestly. So I had roof rats right in my apartment. I was living in a 1-bedroom apartment before on the bottom story. So I had roof rats in my ceiling. Pain in the butt, right? That I leverage, right? So I might make a situation with this, or make a video on how to leverage as much as possible and how to negotiate with your landlord. I started being very loud and obnoxious, not obnoxious, but I started being very loud about the problems I've been having, right? And that became a situation where I went through my the property manager to the landlord, and the landlord's a really nice guy. I actually do like him a lot. His name's Tom. So Tom, I got on a call with Tom. Tom is very, very helpful. He said that just for all, this has been months in the problem, right, with the roof rats. He justified the situation. Obviously, when you're dealing with somebody in general, negotiation tactics 101, you want to ask for a lot. You want to ask for as much as you believe you should get. And obviously, they're going to push back, right? So I asked for 3 months rent, comped out, and rent until it's done for the rats. Make sure that all the rats were gone, right? I did actually catch a rat in the vents, so it's not healthy and hygienic, so I pushed that note as well with the not healthy and hygienic section of it, which I tried to push even more and more and more, right? So with that happening, guys, which became very, very strong, which became a very, very strong talking point and a very, very strong pivot point, right? Where I can push that boundary. Not pivot's probably not the right word, but I can really push that boundary, and I can really push my leverage, and I can leverage. Think of leverage as like you're taking a nail up with a hammer, right? You always want, the more leverage you can get, the more you can push and the more you can ask for. What it ended up being, he offered me 2 separate situations. One, I can move into a single bedroom, or I can move into a double bedroom. Double bedroom is closer to a bar, so there's probably gonna be some noise. So I asked the rest of the people around me if there actually is noise, and they said, yeah, not too much. So I decided to go with the second bedroom. That made it so I can have an office space like this one here, and this actually becomes a very, very strong point. I actually really do like the office a lot. So again, let me jump back to this situation. So I ended up having a $700 rent for a 2-bedroom apartment in Phoenix, right? So it's very, very cheap, and that then leverages me out. So again, think of your finances as liabilities and assets. Your liabilities you want to keep as low as possible. Let's say I'm making that $50,000. Your liabilities can be tax is going to be the biggest one. Your living expenses, your mortgage, blah, 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 blah. You know your liabilities. It's your expenses. Money coming out rather than not money going in, right? So think of an asset as money coming in and creating more money, right? Actually creating more money. An asset is not really something that sits idle and quote unquote goes up with market value. I don't believe that is an asset majority of the time. If I think about real estate, right? A lot of real estate, when it goes up in the market, it is actually not an asset, it's actually a liability, because you have money going out of your single family home, your Airbnb rental. Airbnb rental becomes an asset if you are making more money on that rental than you are in the cost to maintain that property. Let's say it costs you $10,000 a month, arbitrary number, and you're making $7,000 a month. That means it is a $3,000 negative. It is a liability, right? With that liability, make sure you understand that it is taking out of your pocket, not putting into your pocket, right? That's something very, very important in terms of finances. Make sure I would break down all your assets and liabilities, and do not sway because if you bought something bad, like, oh, it's an asset. It's yourself, right? You gotta be honest with yourself with this, and make sure you know what you're doing, and so you can actually give yourself a full picture, right? I thought that's a very interesting way to put it, is you need to be honest with yourself on what you've done before in the past, and you can then increase in the past. I know people that in the past they've been like, oh, my car is an asset. Your car is only an asset. It's actually an appreciating liability, which is worse, right? So your car is only an asset if you're making more money on your car than it costs you, and you can look at the long-term effects on actually driving around, because you're driving around is going to cost maintenance costs, all that kind of stuff. So make sure you understand, make sure you understand, and you can grow with that. So next, let's talk about business section. Right now, the landscape is changing for everybody. Like, even for us, we had to change very quickly. Obviously, as an entrepreneur, I'm very good with change, and I can move very fast. I am what you call a wartime general, as in during the bad times, I believe I get better, right? I feel like I have a clearer picture of what I need to do because it is bad scenario or bad time in general, right? With that bad time in general, or that wartime leader, I know it's like, okay, let's just rock and roll, right? We turn very fast. So if you look at Amazon, I'm talking about Amazon FBA or Amazon, selling on Amazon right now, just in general. And then I'm gonna talk about business strategy now as well, right? So Amazon in general, Amazon is only letting you send in products that are essential, right? So essentials are like toilet paper, anything in certain categories. So you're gonna hear me say two things. FBA is fulfillment by Amazon. That means you send it into their warehouses, they then send it out, right? And then they distribute, they do all the work. I love FBA, you make more money in FBA, it's fantastic. FBM is fulfilled by merchant, or MFN, both the same things, just different terminology for it. That means that we are sending items out, sort of like we were on eBay. If you ever sold on eBay, you send an item out, that's what FBM is. You just have higher prices, and it is still pretty damn good in terms of right now in general, right? So those are the two things we're talking about. And what we've done right now is we're still buying the same products, or we're trying to buy more essentials so we can send them to FBA, but we're FBMing a lot of product out. We make less money in general and less profit, but that is still important. You need cash flow, right? Even for us, we don't want to just like hoard cash, because that becomes a detriment in the future, right? You need to be buying up these assets because they are cheap right now, and because right now is the time you should be pushing and actually spending a lot of money. This is the time you should be spending a lot of money, and it's only going to get worse. So I'm trying to buy up a lot of assets while this happens, because I see that in this general time, supply is actually going down. We're seeing less supply, because if you look at the supply chain in general, how people are selling these products. They're getting from China, they're buying them from liquidations, they're going to garage sales, thrift stores, all these different items, right? And you need to, since that's all shut down, you need to be pushing those boundaries, and you need to be buying up a lot of product right now because of it, right? Because the supply chain's breaking down. That means you have more power. We've seen prices go up in terms of us selling products, and we've seen prices go down in terms of us buying products. So that's good news in terms of that. If you are not in Amazon FBA in general or Amazon seller, you need to take a look at your market, right? So let's say the real estate market. I don't know it very well, so I'm not going to talk too much about it, but I'm just going to give you an overall scenario. The scenario is probably not going to be right, but the concepts should be right inside of it, right? Let's say you look at the overall market. While times were good, Airbnb rentals were a fantastic way to create revenue because people were traveling and all that kind of stuff, right? That's why a lot of people got in at the wrong time, and you're going to get crushed. You're going to get crushed. But there's ways to go around that. If you do have an Airbnb rental, you need to create cash flow. You need to be working on your foundation. If that is like, if you're going to be Instagramming it or whatever, you need to push people through that process. Give it away free if you have to, or very, very cheap rent. You just need cash in your pocket, at least break even, or make a little bit less, or take a little loss. That's fine. But if you take a look at the real estate market, let's just say I don't know right now. So I'm just gonna give you a scenario. Let's say single family houses are depreciating in price and people are dumping them quickly. So you're gonna see demand going down and then supply going up, which is gonna create a price drop, right? You need to be able to buy those items or those things at the price you see that you're just gonna hold or make more money in the future. That's you as a real estate agent. You should know that, or you should be able to at least strategize around that. I'm a real estate agent, but I'm not a real estate guru. Freaking Amazon, eBay guru. I'm the best out there. That's by far. But just in terms of numbers, you know what I'm saying. But at the same time, you need to make sure that your market. You need to be looking at opportunities in your market and in your field. That depends on your field, not my field. Again, my field, I know what I'm doing in. Stick in your lane, especially right now. Right now is not a good time to go. Let's say I'm in e-commerce. Right now is not a good time for me to start jumping around and going into a travel tour guide, right? It's not a good time. You need to stay focused in your market and then grow in your market, because you're gonna have better knowledge than anybody else in your market. I have better knowledge than anybody else in the world with eBay to Amazon or marketplace arbitrage. I'm sticking in my market. I'm creating software on top of it, which you already have with LaCroix extensions. Shout out, it is fantastic. If you're not on it, you are losing a lot of money. Obviously with Hammock, right? We're saying e-commerce. We're sticking in our lane and we're creating that value that we can, because in e-commerce, I am the best, right? I am literally, like, there's no one out there that I have ever known. If you're seeing this and you think you got me, there's no one out there that has sold more different items, right? More different items in e-commerce. I have sold everything from rare sports cars to rare art to your normal day-to-day stuff to I've sold a furnace toilet that, like, I've sold everything in the past. I know e-commerce like the back of my hand, right? So if that's the point, then I need to focus on e-commerce and I need to start cutting down things. My goal is to cut down into only a few things. Right now I am buying product and I am creating ads for our LaCroix extension, obviously working on LaCroix extension, and then working on Hammock data as well to increase that as well. They're all focused into one thing. My big picture, I've talked to a few people about it, but I'm gonna give it to you right now. I'm gonna create a vacuum for products to go through, and I'm gonna create the arbitrage model in between. It is literally a vacuum on top of a funnel, which is gonna be our operations, and I'm gonna suck in a lot of product into us, and I'm gonna spit out profit like no other. That's the game plan with that, and that's the reason why I have LaCroix and I have Hammock. They're both sides of it. LaCroix is the vacuum, Hammock's the operations and the infrastructure. That's the reason why I'm doing that. So again, focus, streamline, and keep moving forward. Again, if you like this kind of talk and you like this kind of information, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, or just comment. Even if it's a bad comment, you still help us out. Or even hit that negative button too. That still helps us out. Again, thank you again. I'll catch you guys in a bit.